Sorry for the delay. I was waiting for Bill, and I think he should be right around the corner. But if you don't mind, rise and join us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I think there is an
I know. All right. Good evening, and sorry for the delay. But first item on the agenda is the library. And if Eileen, did you want to speak to things first?
No,
If you want to.
no, I don't have anything to say.
Okay. If you'd like to come up and join us, that'll be great.
Yvette's running away.
Good evening and hello. My name is Laura Phil. I'm
You gotta
chair.
get one of
I'm
them.
sorry.
Thank you.
What?
You just need one of them.
To speak closer. Oh, I wasn't projecting enough. Is that
No.
it? I'm Laura Philp. I'm chair of the Library Board of Trustees. I have with me our treasurer, Janet Krupp, and our director, Yvette Kauser. Wanted to thank Paul McHalley for all of the work he has done with the library to help in the process of developing what we've needed to work with. So briefly, what we want to do is, we have a person who is has a dual role of administration and circulation. We want to make her a full-time administration person and then move the circulation to another position with 15 hours. Because she can't be effective in her administrative role if she's divided between two departments. The next thing we would like to do is we have a custodian, or excuse me, a maintenance person really, who is currently part-time. He has a wonderful skill set, multi-skill sets that we find very valuable and we feel would help save the library money in the long run because he can do things that the average maintenance person can't do. This position was full-time about 6 years ago, and I don't know what the history was that it became part-time, but we really feel a need to have a full-time person in the building, particularly with the age of the building and things that continue to need some attention. And then the third thing is that we have, the trustees have added to the budget support for a new server, 7 new computers because they're old, and installation of the new server, which comes to about $23,000. So in brief, that's what we're looking at for our major budgetary changes this year. Do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Laura.
Or do either of you want to add anything? No?
Peter.
Who handles your IT? Is it Chuck Miller with the town?
I'll speak to that. No, we have an outside vendor, Dick Lambert, who works with a lot of the libraries in the area, so he understands the amount of firewall that we need to have with the patron accounts.
Thank you.
Any further?
I did have one of, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And it's a very small thing, but I was going through your maintenance buildings, Yvette, and I see you got $1,500 for trash removal. Doesn't I know that at the police department, they used to have building and grounds, take care of the trash, and you guys actually have to pay somebody, we don't send somebody over?
That's a great question for Paul. The trash removal?
The trash removal is underneath the town contract. They have their own dumpster. They just pay for the fee to have the dumpster at the library and get it out, to get the trash out.
Okay, so it's done by the DPW?
No, they have their own dumpster. They have an actual physical dumpster down there. I believe it's a 6-yard dumpster.
Oh, okay, the dumpster.
That
that's right, right.
Republica comes and picks up.
So how come we don't have them, we don't service them? They're like they do other town departments, like the fire and police and stuff.
Fire has their own dumpster as well.
Yeah.
Police, because the gentleman who cleans police department comes over here because of the supplies and things of that sort, so he just puts the trash behind the town hall building.
Okay.
And town hall has their own dumpster. Parks and Rec has his own dumpster, MYA has their own dumpster. They all have their own dumpsters. It's the company we contract with is Republica, and they pick up these dumpsters all throughout town.
All right, thank you.
Nancy?
Actually, it's just a matter of clarification. Thank you. I know you mentioned, excuse me, the full-time custodian, and just to be able to reflect that under 8107, and I mentioned this to Paul already, it does have benefits for full-time custodial aid, and it's listed as custodian part-time, so that should be full-time, right?
The current position, it used to be custodian maintenance was a full-time one person.
Right.
And that was divided out to, I think, save some money. It's been very challenging to fill both of these positions. And it seems appropriate right now to combine them back to one, so we'd have one full-time person doing both custodial cleaning and then maintenance, fixing things, painting.
I agree. My
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
is just the way it's listed here,
Oh,
that it should say full-time. And it's listed as part-time.
I'm
That's
sorry.
It's just a listing, it's not
Sure,
rationale,
yeah.
I understand.
yes.
I already made the change.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Just so that's clear, that's all. Because it does have down benefits, so that's all I have.
Okay.
Tom?
So just a clarification, under your capital reserve funds going out, you have $75,000, and I know that is probably for the flooding problems that you had. What else is, like, what does that 75,000 entail? Is it carpet, siding, windows, whatever? I mean, or is it just a lump sum that you put in there to fix it?
Paul could really speak better to this because he has many, many calculations about it.
During the budget process, we figured $75,000 was a good number. I think a week ago, we actually got a quote from the same people who are doing the highway garage on it. What it pertains is that those windows in the children's room sit below grade. And when we have a heavy rain, that little trough fills up, comes over the top, comes through the windows and floods the children's room. What the plan is to fill those windows, take those windows out, fill that trough in, raise the manhole that's there up to grade to make it slope away from the building. So that's all part of it, and it came in around $70,000.
Yes, Barbara?
So, Paul, should it really be labeled windows? Because when I first saw that on the budget, I went, what kind of windows are we buying?
Yeah, the reason why we labeled it children's room windows is because at first we thought we were gonna just replace the windows there with something that would prevent the water infiltration. But talking to the vendor and talking to several vendors, they thought it would be best to infill those windows, so we can change that to children's room renovations.
I think,
Going
or
forward.
building maintenance or something, because if anybody, if
Right.
anyone out, you know, who's a citizen looks at this budget and sees $75,000 for window, well, Newpro doesn't even cost that much, so I think it'd be better to label it correctly than for everybody to be questioning what the 75,000 really is for.
Yep.
'Cause-
Done.
And definitely, we don't want the children's room being flooded out,
No.
so.
And it's been, I think, 3 of the last 4
Yeah.
years, right?
Well,
Yeah.
where did it drain to? Because it apparently worked at one point.
It's an interesting drainage over there with the way all the water comes from John O'Leary, slopes down through the parking lot. If it doesn't get picked up by the catch basin in the parking lot, it came down into the trough. The trough would drain the trough, and that connected, I believe, to the catch basin that's in the road. However, with the heavy rains that we've been getting, the road's been overcome with catch basin. We've been having 500-year storms instead of what the catch basins are. Kyle, help me out here for, no, I think the catch basins are X number of year storms. So we've been having like 500-year storms or 500, Kyle can explain it better with the
Sure.
storm data.
So Paul's exactly right. The drainage from the parking lot of the library and the other structures in the library parking lot do tie into the drainage that's on Daniel Webster Highway in front of the library. And then the water flows south. The drainage system that is there was designed for a 20-year storm. And what it is, recently we've been having it's not the amount of rain, it's the intensity of rain. So when we get those very intense storms, the catch basins and the drainage system fill up very quickly. And once the pipes are filled up, the water has nowhere to go. So then it backfills into the trough that causes the flooding into the children's room.
And those windows are all subgrade?
Believe the majority, if you're looking at the window, 90% of it's subgrade. It's just some very top of it is above the grade in each window.
And I
Yeah.
don't spend much time in the children's section of the library, but I mean, I know there's going to be lighting, but does it make it more of a dungeon? Is there any way of leaving any lighting?
That was going to be my question.
That is a
Exactly.
question, I guess, for a vet and the library trustees, because they've talked about that and the lighting down there, and I don't know what came about that discussion.
Well, my understanding is if we have any kind of window, even a small window, there is no guarantee that water will not get into it. So my recommendation to the board was, we can't deal with another flood, you know? And so that means remove the windows, you know? That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know, but I think in terms of, would it diminish the experience of kids and parents, grandparents coming into the children's room? No, because we have a wonderful staff, and they don't stand by the windows and look at the cars, you know, the cars' tires. You know, they're engaging in the materials in the room. You know, there's a mural there actually under the windows now. So I'm, you know, I'm not a medical doctor that knows how much sunlight kids need to get, but if they're dependent on the sunlight that comes into the children's room windows, I'm a little concerned about what's going on in the house. But yeah, I think the trade-off for, I am the daughter of a medical doctor, though, I'll say that. But I think, you know, it's disappointing, but the trade-off of having to close the library children's room for a week at minimum, that's really, that's a tragedy, I think. That's really bad. It's during the summer, you know, we have to, you know, lean on Parks and Rec to move our events to Wasserman Park, and Matt has been wonderful with that, but really it's so disruptive to do that. I think it's a trade-off that we're willing to make.
And we've had Primex down here, and the gentleman, the risk manager for Primex, has come down and he's walked the project I've asked and I've tried, but Primex is saying, no, they won't give us any money for this project. However, he did say that if it gets to the point where it might be too dark, there's some things that might be done with, like they call them telescoping lights, that they bring a mirror and they push the natural light down and stuff. So it's all been talked about down there. The first step is boxing in those windows right now to stop the water from coming in so they don't have a disruption in service in the children's room.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Anybody have anything further? Bill?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies, thank you for your budget. I appreciate it. Can somebody talk a little bit about the philosophy behind hiring the office manager? Why there's a need for it now as opposed to years past?
I think you just need a little bit of clarification. So we have an office manager already.
Right. I was trying to understand what the swap with the circulation and the office manager. Maybe I misunderstood that. I
Okay.
apologize.
So So right now, I have a administrative assistant, and she spends 17 of her 40 hours covering circulation.
Okay,
That's not good for me. I have to put off a lot of, I think, innovative things that we're trying to push through because I have to wait for her to get off the desk. It's just not great. She's under two different department heads, myself and the head of circulation. So who's she taking direction from? Sometimes me, sometimes Jen. It was an idea that didn't pan out the way I hoped it would. And there are just more demands on what I need for her to do and more demands on what circulation needs to do. So it's just not working. So the idea was we still need those 17 hours at circulation, but we compromised with 15 hours so that we would remove my assistant, my administrative assistant, to just be in my office. And then I can give her the tasks that I need to give her and not wait for her to get off the desk.
so you'd be looking at hiring an additional person to compensate for those
Yep.
15 hours on the circulation desk?
Yes,
Okay.
and just.
So that's the philosophical piece that I was getting at. What was driving the initial change of,
What's driving it is I created a kind of joint position, and it doesn't work for anybody.
I
It doesn't
don't
work for
necessarily
that staff
disagree.
person,
I don't
myself, or
necessarily,
the trustees.
just so you know, I don't necessarily
Yeah.
disagree with what you're doing. I'm just trying to understand what the actual mechanics were behind it during this past year that would cause you to have a revisit in philosophy on that, regarding the job description for that particular individual. So that's really was my only question. I think Eileen had a question.
I just want to make sure that we're clear, and that I'm clear, that this isn't a new position. You're not adding a position, you're not adding, benefits to a part-time position in this instance. It's just you're talking about your philosophical moving of hours around from one person to another, right?
No,
It doesn't have a financial aspect
It
to it.
does. We would add a new circ aide at 15 hours a week.
This position right here.
You didn't tell me that, but, okay, thank you.
Just a personal comment back to some of the members weren't on here when we had a vigorous debate about the library several years ago. And I just really want to commend Yvette and the Board of Trustees on how times have changed since I first joined council back in 2011 to where we are right now. And things are very busy and exciting over at the library. I think it's a great thing. I think it's user-friendly from a one-year-old to a centenarian. There's your word for the day. But no, congratulations on everything that you've done over there, what you've accomplished, and what you're seeking to do. So appreciate all the hard work to everybody on your team over there. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Barbara?
I have a question about the computers. There are actually two line items on your budget for computers. One is under computer services. 7 new public computers, installation and protective software, and I don't know what LBOT fines are. And the other one is under office equipment for 7 computer replacements. And they're different dollar amounts, so I can't tell if we're dealing with the same computers or 14 computers.
The LBOT fines is library trustee money.
Okay.
The library trustees made a decision. It used to be only $3,500 that they used to put in for special things through some of the accounts that they had and offset it in the budget.
Mhm.
This year, the library wanted to be transparent because they had other monies that they used to buy items and supplies with. So the LBOT fine money is just that $23,000. If you go and add up those lines, and you'll see it on the bottom, you'll see a $23,000. On the very bottom of the budget, it says library trustees, trustee funds. That correlates to those projects. So they're using some of their library trustee money that they have to offset some of those projects.
And that fund went down substantially when my kids got out of school.
I don't know that, they have to answer that question about computers, I'm just explaining what the
hard. I own a lot of
LBOT
books.
fund is.
Mine are taking over.
So,
Seven. They're due for replacement.
So we have the actual computers, and then we have the technician who comes in to prepare the machine so that they can be used
Mhm.
and installs
Yeah,
the server.
the load up.
Yes.
very good. We all set? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is solid waste disposal. Kyle and Steve, welcome. Hi, Kyle. Hi, Steve.
Good evening, Town Council, Paul and Eileen. Thank you for having us here tonight to discuss the 6 Public Works budgets. Excuse me. Trying not to lose my voice. I know. We'll see how the show goes. Let's be brief then. So we're here tonight to talk about the 6 different Public Works budgets. My name, for the folks at home, my name is Kyle Fox. I'm the Director of Public Works. For each of the budgets, I'll have the division head for that budget up here with me. With me for the solid waste budget is Steve Dumas. He's the foreman at the transfer station. Just real briefly, most of the Public Works budgets are nearly flatline. We went through this year with a careful eye to look at past expenditures and what we're seeing for future expenditures. So you'll see a lot of minor changes to different line items up and down, just trying to narrow in on kind of the traditional path of what our expenditures are and what we truly need for each line item. I'll talk about a few of the more major items, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. On line 8370, landfill monitoring, we have a $6,500 increase in that item, and that's primarily due to the PFAS compounds that have been found at the landfill. We have increased testing, increased reporting to DES that we have to do. That's the change there. In the 8910 budget, capital reserve fund purchases, we have an increase of $60,000. And that's because we have a major equipment purchase this year. We're replacing our 2005 loader, which has 21,000 hours on it, for a new one.
21,000 hours?
21,000 hours, yeah. And that's kind of the big picture items. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Bill?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this where we talk to you about recyclables? Or I can talk to you about recyclables?
Please do.
Okay, what's the future? I know that there's been reading stuff in the paper that specific buyers are not actually in the market for recyclables, both not just in terms of paper, but also glass and plastic. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a pivot at some particular point where recycling is no longer going to be, probably the wrong thing to say, but a revenue generator.
Viable.
A viable revenue generator versus what we have right now.
Yeah, so it's a tough question to answer. It's a great question, though. Steve and I have been to a number of seminars. We work closely with NRRA, which is the Northeast Regional Resource Association. And they're trying to get a handle on everything as well. As I talked to you guys last year about the China's National Sword Initiative, which in which they basically said they weren't going to take America's trash anymore, is fully implemented now. So we're all adjusting to what's the new normal. And the new normal is that not a lot of people want recyclables. NRRA has done a really nice job of finding new markets. There are new initiatives opening up. Just like, you know, any change in the paradigm of a way of something that's been done, such as this, a major change, there will be something that fills the void. We're not 100% clear on what that is yet, and there may be more pain in the upcoming years that we can't predict at this point. Things have seemed to stabilize a little bit, although there's a number of towns over the past year that have stopped accepting glass. Some have stopped accepting plastics, and they're saying to throw stuff into the trash. We're in a good position so far in that we signed that 3-year contract 2 years ago. So we're still bringing all of our single stream to Harvey Industries down in Massachusetts. And they're a really great company working on changing their model to kind of accommodate the new normal as well. So I think the future is going to be okay, but we may have some additional struggles along the way.
Oh, so, follow up, Mr. Chairman. So it's possible there could be a period of time where there's a downtick,
Possibly.
possibly.
Well, as long as they're paying the freight until it gets to 120, whatever the magic number is.
Right. Right.
Until it gets to that, it's not a problem. When it gets to that, then you're right. It goes in the garbage, or we have to figure out something else.
For now, recycling is still cheaper. The great news, Steve compiled the 2018 report for our trash volume, and it's reflected in this budget. Our trash intake was 200 tons less than last year. And
Excellent.
that's reflected
That's
in
awesome.
the budget. And our recycling is up 50 tons. So we're still going in the right direction with recycling, and it is still more economical. So
Yep.
we intend to keep going, as long as it's
Until
viable.
those numbers don't work.
Yeah.
Peter?
Kyle, Steve, I see under 8388, special waste disposal. We've got budgeted $65,000.
Yep.
Is that, I guess, there is a question, Lee. I don't want to get us to where I'm going.
True.
But
True.
thanks
That's
for-
awesome, Kyle.
All right, see? It was a test. Thanks for helping me out, by the way. So the fees we charge aren't covering like refrigerators and air conditioners, and Freon and tires and so forth? That doesn't the fees we charge the folks who bring these items in?
That's what those fees exactly do. Steve, again, compiled another report for me today. We try and, when you guys set the last fee structure, it was designed to just cover our costs. We're not trying to make extra money
Yeah.
off of the residents. The Freon items, we netted $1,400 to the positive last year. Electronics, $6,000. Propane tanks, we were a negative $185, and tires, we were negative $1,400. So, the fees are pretty close to where they are. We're going to take a closer look at it this spring and work with Paul and Eileen to see if we should come back to you folks and look for any adjustments in the rates.
What about electronics? How did we do on that?
We're plus 6,000.
Okay.
Yeah, we're to the good on that.
And bush grinding itself, we
Brush.
pay somebody or we have,
We have a vendor come in and do it.
and that's
Grind-
that big
they
brush
grind all
pile
the
that out back? Is that
Yes.
the big? I thought we burned that.
Can't do that
No.
for a long time.
There's a lot of state regulations, a lot of emissions regulations, and once you're done burning, you have the ash, and what are you gonna do with the ash?
Okay.
Has to go to a monofill, very expensive to haul. So we just decided, you're gonna have to pay one way or the other, it's just cheaper to grind it, and actually you're getting something out of it, because you're getting wood chips that they use to recycle for mulch, so.
I didn't realize that.
And the
Okay.
company works with us, they actually give us a break, because they haul off everything they grind, so.
All right.
It's
So-
kind of good for everybody.
All right, good. So the 65,000 kind of offsets
Yes.
itself
There's an
at the
offsetting
end of the year.
revenue.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So just to follow up on Pete's, on the refrigerators, we had those couple deals this past year. Now, doesn't that hurt this number? When, was it PSNH or whoever did it, or Energy, Eversource came in and did it for free?
The Freon thing.
The Freon?
Well, these numbers are based on everything we've collected, and those numbers weren't, I mean, the Eversource numbers aren't in this.
Okay.
So this is a real.
Okay.
This is
It's
a real number.
Okay.
And the way that program worked is, we had to pay to dispose of the items that came in.
Okay.
And then we received a check from Eversource in New Hampshire Saves
Okay.
as a reimbursement
Yeah,
for it.
okay. All right, great.
That's why the money has to be in place, because we
Yeah.
have
Oh,
to
yeah,
take
absolutely.
care of these things. And we don't, it's not like we get $14,000 right up front.
Right.
It's over the year's time.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That was such a great program.
It was.
They offered
It
it to
was.
us in June and October, and we took in, I forget the numbers now, I think 199
Yeah.
units.
I
to
hope
the
we can do
tune
that again, because that was
of
really
more than
beneficial to the town.
$2,000 it saved the
It
residents
was
of
a good
Merrimack.
response to
Yeah.
that.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we did.
I'm just following off of what Councilor Alba was commenting about. Did your report do any analysis of feed avoidance? In other words, scofflaws going to the transfer station to dump the tires without stopping into the shed to make their payment?
It's tough for us to track that stuff. I mean, we do have the cameras up there now, so we can kind of monitor things, and we have access to get plate numbers and turn them into the PD. So that word gets out there now, and people are less apt to do it, but it's tough. When one guy's in the trailer, you know, the phone's ringing, somebody's coming in, somebody's on the scale.
Oh, I get it.
So it's even, but we have the ability to go back and see, so we can find violators.
That being said, just yesterday, Steve's team did find a commercial operator disposing of something they shouldn't have. So we got him, and Steve is going to rectify that. So
Good.
we were able to, as Steve said, go back on the surveillance cameras, find it, and we'll take action.
Should put it on cable access. Merrimack Cops filmed live on location. Be good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The other thing I just think about is the waste oil. Do we turn that in, and is that recycled or reused in?
Yeah, Clean Harbors, they collect it. We used to get money for it,
That's what I was gonna ask you.
but it's, again, with the price of crude oil down, the price of that also goes down. If the price of crude oil was up, then we'd be getting money. We used to get like 3 cents a gallon for it or something, but now we have to pay, we pay a flat rate every time they come and empty the tank.
Now, are we finding any of our neighbors next door in Bedford using the dump?
We haven't, we check them all the time.
Yeah.
And again, we have the ability with the cameras now, so we can go back. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, is somebody coming in, very well they could be.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't catch them all the time, but we do the spot checks with the stickers, and we do, again, on the cameras. The cameras have been very helpful for us. It's add another 3-4 sets of eyes to the whole facility, so it really helped.
Thanks.
I just want to follow up on the
Follow-
cameras.
yes.
These aren't the grainy kind of cameras that you see those pictures on WMUR, like, what's that? These are high definition cameras that we can actually zoom right in from a distance and pick out a plate number and pick out the person who was driving. These aren't like the grainy ones that we see when they're saying, oh, this guy robbed the place. So it makes it a lot easier for our police department to come down, look at that, get the information, and then move forward with these violators.
If
And they
any
do
of-
do a good job, and it's wild. If you ever have time on a off then Saturday to go down and check it out with
Please
them,
do.
they will,
Yeah.
you can see the whole.
We have a camera posted at the metal area. It's on a post. And we have the ability, now anybody that's been there knows the distances, you know. We got the ability to look at the sign at the brush pile, zoom in and read it. That's how, and clearly read it. That's probably
Changes my way
150,
I'm at the dump, right?
200 feet away.
You don't want to scare people away from the dump either.
We're watching,
Before I go to
we're watching,
Barbara.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's Finley again.
Especially you.
I've Before I let Barbara go, I just wanted, if we stop somebody checking for stickers, which we occasionally do, I know, if we find that they are from Bedford, what is that consequence? Because that should, I think it should be something
I
immediate.
kindly ask them to turn around and leave and have a nice day and don't ever
That's
come
it.
back.
Do you think that's a
That's it.
deterrent? Okay,
Can be.
all right.
You catch me on a bad day.
Actually, my son-in-law said, will you tell him I'm your son-in-law so he doesn't brutalize me all the time? Anyhow,
Steve
Barbara.
actually followed somebody out of town because he says he was from town. Steve followed him out of town. Once he hit the town line, he came back. Next time he came back, Steve said, that's not from us. That's not from the town of Merrimack.
I followed him all the way to Wilton.
Wilton.
He turned
Right.
around, he
So-
was doing a
so-
job.
Yeah.
I just followed him, I came back, and when he came back, no more than 10, 15 minutes after I came back, here he comes. I said, where's this coming from? He gives me a street address in town. I go, that's the wrong answer. I said, don't come back here again. I saw you over there, I know what you were doing. So, I mean, we do that, we do spot checks with residents, you know, when jobbers come into town, do jobs.
Yep.
We ask them for an address. They're not always right, because I will go knock on a resident's house, and if they're not home, I will leave one of my cards with a note on the back, would you please call me, just to verify that they did actually do the work there, and if they didn't, again.
All right.
We do check stuff, it's just, it's.
Yeah, no, it's
tough.
hard. It's another
It's
job
tough.
in and of itself, so.
27,000 people in town, it's
Right.
kinda hard to keep an eye on all of them.
Barbara.
And actually, that was part of the question I was going to ask you guys, because there is a charge of a couple of $1,000s to print stickers.
Mhm.
And that was my question. Are we actually using those
Oh,
stickers
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
cutting people off at the pass? Because if we weren't, there's no sense in doing it.
I
You
believe
might-
last year, we did about 10,000 stickers at least.
Yeah,
Because people change cars, they get new cars, they come in, they
Right.
have a couple of cars, so.
Yep.
That's what we.
I know I get two, because I have two cards, and you
Yeah.
never know which one you're driving that day.
Right.
Also, you might want to think about when you do catch somebody, or you got those interesting pictures, put them on your Facebook site.
Mhm.
You know, because I think that will be a deterrent. You know, you're not relying on word of mouth, but it will get out there faster if you do that.
A lot of times when we do catch somebody, if we get a plate for it, I will call PD. They will send an officer to the house because we have their plate.
Yep.
And they will go speak to them. And word of mouth gets around.
And I
People
love
say
you
don't
guys
do that.
down there. You guys are so, you know, I'm always waving to people, and they wave back to me from the bottom of the pit. And
Friendly.
Bottom of the pits all day.
Yeah.
You mean down in the transfer?
yeah.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, just one last question. It was an afterthought, and I apologize. What's the future relationship with the NRPC as it relates to our hazardous waste disposal program? Is there going to be additional opportunities to actually regionally host it in Merrimack, or are we still going to be referring people to bring their waste down to Nashua?
Well, actually, they've put out the schedules for the next 3 years, I believe. So they will be down in Nashua. We don't have them up where we are, because Nashua has the permanent state-sided facility to hold anything over that they have over when they do the collect. All the sites, they have one satellite site, I believe this year it's in Pelham.
Pelham.
And then they do a Thursday night site. So, for people at work on Saturdays, usually it's in Nashua from 3 to 7. But I don't see any, they're very strong in their commitment down there, and they do
No doubt
the
about it.
vendor that's there, Veolia, is the vendor that does the collection events, and they do a very nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just a real quick curiosity question. Under 8355, the actual, I'm just questioning about the rate increase. Rate increase from $68, is that to 71?
No, that's, it should be, that was a typo. It should be 70 to 71, and then the line below it should be from 54.50 to 75.50.
57.
57.50, sorry, 57.50.
Okay, because what's there is
Yep, I
what's
made,
we forgot
presently
to update
there.
that.
right. I
Okay,
made the change.
So it was 54.7, okay, because I'm thinking 15 to 57.
That was the
That is
previous
quite a
year,
jump.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That answers my question. Thank you.
The number of $84,020 should have been $84,020.33. So I didn't know what, did you?
It's 8388.
Oh, it's supposed to be 88?
No, it's line 83.
Oh, 83, yeah, with it, I'm going for 33 cents, we made that damn note. Anyhow, so, is everybody all set? Now, Peter?
Steve, I just want to say, you guys having the landfill like that and the recycling center and everything else, you guys do a great job over there. It's organized, you represent it well, and, you know, I'm just doing some home renovation stuff, and it's so nice to have the ability to come over there and separate and do whatever you need to do. You guys do a great job.
Thank you
They
very
know
much.
they've been following you home.
I know a guy.
You suspect.
No, perfect. All righty. Very good. Thanks, Stephen.
Righty.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Highway. Barbara?
While they're getting settled, can someone give me the definition of what highway is supposed to be? Because reading this budget, it wasn't what I thought it was. So I get it might be DW. What else is supposed to be in there?
Highway Department, it's,
Because I'm seeing things for the MYA and.
yes,
I'd be happy to answer that.
yeah, well, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Joining me for this budget is Lori Barrett. She's the operations manager for the equipment maintenance, and highway maintenance divisions of Public Works. What the highway maintenance, gosh, I can't speak. What the highway division maintains is all of our streets, our bridges, our parks, which is why MYA is in the budget.
Okay.
Anything infrastructure related around the public areas of town, the highway division maintains.
Okay, versus Park and Rec.
Correct.
Okay.
Park and Rec runs the programs. We maintain the facilities.
Okay. Thank you.
With that, I'll do a quick run through. Again, there's a lot of ups and downs in this budget. The first one that's down is wages hourly is actually down over $4,000. That's due to retirement of some long-time employees and replacements with younger folks. So that's a good one. Line 8333 is up 19,000. That's the maintenance of vehicles line item. And again, we were kind of looking at the historical numbers and trying to present a budget that's realistic to what we need. Our sand salt line, 8341, is up $5,000. What we did a calculation for our average use of sand and salt each year, which equates to 2,500 tons of salt and 1,000 tons of sand, and that equates to the $135,000 in the proposed budget line. In other outside services, 8359. We're proposing an increase of $35,000 over last year, and that's solely to bring in a contractor to crush some more of the asphalt pile. The asphalt pile is a mountain in our backyard at the highway garage at Turkey Hill, where soils or we let residents bring in remnants of their sidewalk, concrete, asphalt, those kind of things. Can't be disposed of at solid waste. They can be disposed of in that pile, and then we crush up that pile every few years. We put out a contract, and then we're able to use that material for things such as after the pavers come through and put on a new course of asphalt, which leaves the lip off the edge of the road. The highway division comes through and uses that material to what we call back up the pavement. It provides support for the pavement, and it gives a little extra comfort for drivers on their cell phones as they veer on and off the pavement.
Do you want it right now? Kyle, do you have, you don't
Oh,
mind
sure.
Peter has-
Kyle,
Please.
while you're on that,
Yeah.
That ground up or reclaimed asphalt and everything, can that be used on trails? Let's say if the Conservation Commission wanted to groom some trails and stuff, can that be used out in those areas, or is it considered not?
I think it would depend where the trail was.
Yeah,
There are remnants of asphalt in there,
yeah,
so we wouldn't want to put it in a wetland area,
okay,
but dry areas, it certainly could be.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And it also depends what kind of performance you're looking for. It's not as good a material as a processed gravel that we would pay for. But in the right use, it's a good material. Yeah.
Thanks.
Moving down to 8371, which is the Merrimack Youth Association line. We're proposing a $35,000 increase. And the increase is due to two projects. The first is repaving the parking lot at the MYA building, which is located across from the library on DW Highway. The idea is that the parking lot is badly worn. The idea is to reclaim it, repave it, and to end up with a surface that we could put a basketball court onto. And then the second project in there is upgrades to the repairs to the Bice Fieldhouse. When the Joint Loss Committee went through this past spring to do our annual review of the facility, there were a number of items noted that needed repair to make it safe. Correct. Yep. Correct. Both projects are generated as needs by us.
Owns it,
Correct.
so we need to maintain our properties.
Exactly right. Yep.
Bill?
Are we replacing the basketball nets, the actual infrastructure?
MYA in discussions had mentioned that they may try to purchase the ones that were put in at Wasserman Park at basketball, the same type down there. So we're in discussions with them. Hopefully they'll.
And obviously, I'm sorry, Paul?
The MYA gave us money for that, to do to replace those basketball courts. You guys accepted that money.
Didn't we get a nice donation from Mr. Roy?
Correct.
For hoops?
To cover two of them, so about $10,000.
For now. Yep.
And you're gonna line the new paving for the basketball courts, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
When are, in the process, in the capital reserve, in the CIP, when is the intersection for Wire coming up?
2027.
I could ask you, couldn't I?
2020 what?
2027.
Oh.
Yeah, so we,
I guess
Never.
no, it's not never. So we're getting federal funding for that project, and that's when it's scheduled for, is fiscal 27, to get the 80% federal funds to do that project.
It's not even in the CIP then.
It's in the CIP. We keep it in there as a placeholder, but it is, it's beyond the 7-year
Yeah.
span of the current CIP, but it is in there
Okay.
as a placeholder.
Gosh, I don't know why I thought it was sooner than that. But
Because they've been talking about it forever, yeah.
Yeah, initially so the process, I'll migrate a little bit. So initially, we didn't have federal funding, and we were going to try and do it as a town-funded project. Had that occurred, it would have been done sooner, or we would have proposed it to be done sooner. NRPC was key in helping us get to the state and have them do a road safety audit of the intersection. They did that, and it met whatever criteria it needed to warrant federal funding for the project. So we'll get a better project at less cost to the town, but it is going to be a wait.
But, so it requires funds to fix it for safety reasons, but 8 years from now.
Right, because that's a statewide program. So there's a lot of there's a lot of communities with their hands out, and that.
Yeah, I'm sure. What kind of money are we talking about?
You need to factor in inflation.
Reflate
You have to double the cost.
for 8 years? Yeah, probably so.
It's budgeted at 1.2 million right now.
really,
So,
okay.
This was Wire Road and Babusick Lake we're talking.
Where the old pizza man was.
In Route 3.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a bigger project than I imagined, but I believe it. Peter?
Kyle, and I think I asked you this every year for the last 2 years now, but Pearson Road. Is that somewhere in here?
I have some terrific news for you, Peter.
Make my day.
It'll stop that
This
email
year,
train.
this year is the year.
Oh, beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So for the infrastructure account, I'm drawing a blank for some reason, 8505. We're proposing a level budget there, but the two big projects we're proposing this year are to do Pearson Road, reconstructing the entire length of it, and to reconstruct a portion of Peasley Road from Amherst Road to Dull Road. And the method we're using for that reconstruction is to do what we did on Amherst Road 2 years ago, which is what's called a asphalt injected reclaim. So the process is the reclaimer, which is the big machine that pulverizes the existing pavement into the base. So they do that just like they normally do, and that's what we're going to do at the MYA parking lot and the PD parking lot. But for these projects, we're going to go a step further. They reclaim it a second time, this time injecting liquid asphalt into the base. And what that does is it gives it a stronger base, because many of our older roads, many of our main roads, they developed from cart paths back in the horse and buggy days. So they never had a proper base material to support today's traffic. We tried this initially back in, I think it was 2009. We did our first test, because I'm skeptical of things, but I don't mind trying things. We did Page and Reeds Ferry Way, again, up off of Pearson Road.
Yep.
So that was the first time I tried that technique. If you drive it today, you'll notice not a single crack in those two
It's in
roads.
great condition.
The process seems to work great. It's a fraction of the cost of reconstructing a road, like we did on Tinker Road back in 2008. That project alone was a little over a mile, cost $1.2 million. By comparison, doing the stretch of Pearson Road is going to cost about $400,000.
Now, is that going to include the widening of the fog line? You're virtually falling off the edges of the road. Some places there is no fog line for walkers or cyclists or anything like that.
When we're done, so when we finish the project, it'll be the standard 24-foot width of pavement. One thing we've done, I don't know if anyone's noticed, we kind of snuck this one through. Traditionally, we'd always striped our lanes at 12 feet, which is kind of the typical what you see on highways. All of our new roads, except for Continental and Daniel Webster, all of our other main roads that have stripes now, when we resurface them, we're putting the stripes at 10-foot lanes. You'll see that on Amherst Road and some of the others we've done the last 2 or 3 years. We've worked closely with Nelson and his group and the NRPC Bike Ped group to try and foster that, to give pedestrians and bicyclists a little more room. And we've had some positive feedback from it, and we're going to continue to do that.
And isn't the other component of that, it slows people down?
It is. I was
Because they
just going to
feel
say
like the
that.
road's
It's also a
narrower.
traffic calming measure. You squeeze those lines in, it does give you a feeling of discomfort.
Thank you.
Nancy?
Thank you. Just a clarification, I had received a correspondence from a citizen asking about Woodbury sidewalk, and I thought it was, and I just want verification. Part of that's a grant, is it not?
It is. That's,
Okay.
yep,
And is that the TAP grant?
it is.
Ah.
You're exactly right.
So the amount that's listed, which is 128,000,
8910.
thank you.
You're welcome.
that's incorrect? So that's incorrect, is what you're saying? What is it supposed to be?
Saying the account.
Oh, he's saying the account number.
Oh,
You're right, Nancy.
Yes.
thank you, 8910. Don't confuse me, I'm just borderline as it is. So it's $128,000 total. Is that, we do 20%, and is it state or federal?
Federal.
Is it 80/20?
It's 80/20. And you'll notice in the 2007, just to the left of that number,
Yeah.
left of the 128, there's the 105.
Right,
Because these projects take time, We split fund them in the budget just to try and accurately reflect when the money's going to get spent.
So to that citizen, I just want to reassure them that they were concerned it was such a major price,
Yeah,
but knowing the 2080, it sort of softens the blow.
exactly.
And also talked about the rationale for having it, because they didn't feel as if it would be really utilized. But obviously, there had to be justification for the grant to be
Yeah,
approved.
it's the same competitive grant we've been
Right,
applying for each year.
right.
The TAP stands for Transportation Alternatives Program.
Right.
And what it's designed to do, it's a pot of money that the feds give states to help augment alternative modes of transportation, whether it's bicycles, pedestrians.
Encouraging, yeah.
Non-motorized transportation.
Right.
It's a competitive grant. We've so far received 2 grants. We've got one that Dawn submitted the paperwork. Last fall, we were chosen the #1 project in the Nashua region by the NRPC. We're still waiting to hear from the state on the awards. Typically, there's about $5 million in the program statewide and about $35 to $40 million worth of requests. So it's a highly competitive grant.
Is that for the Watson Park?
No, that one it's for the Babusick
Okay.
Lake Road sidewalks.
Okay, very good.
I was just asking Paul if this was 100% or 80% or 20%, the number, and he tells me that's only for design. So if that's the case, we should be clear about that.
Okay. I'm not 100% positive. I should say Dawn Twamala, our town engineer, she's quite ill, so she couldn't make it here tonight, but I can get that answer back to you.
Oh, the 128, I didn't think so, but it is?
It says right in the budget, design. It's
I
right in the
thought
line
that
item.
The original numbers that we heard about,
Oh.
okay, no, that's fine. It's not important right now.
Can we validate that?
Absolutely. I think that's right. I think it is design. So there's the way,
Oh,
so.
No, go ahead.
I was having a discussion with the town manager this morning, or this afternoon rather, about federal money and how difficult they make it to spend, and how costly they make the project because of the hoops we need to go through. We've seen it on the Sauhegan River Trail. We've come back to you a few times with that project, and the costs keep going up because of environmental reviews, cultural reviews, historical reviews. And that all factors into the engineering costs. As we work with our consultants, they kind of joke. They spend 10% of the time designing the project, 90% of the time doing everything else, the permitting side of it. And it's terribly aggravating. But the long-term gain for the town is we end up with a really good project for cheaper than if we did it on our own.
Well,
I'm confirming that is just for design.
So
We
that-
have construction in the CIP in 2021 to the tune of over $770,000
for the sidewalk.
for the sidewalk. Construction.
Now, my follow-up then, is that 2080 as well?
Yes.
Yes.
All aspects
Can
of the
you
project are 80/20.
Can you imagine?
Well, especially when the whole sidewalk conversation came up, was a town center committee and thought Woodbury with the schools. And I agree, a lot of kids walk that street and it's, right, but originally Kyle looked at it and he said, well, this is a bigger project than you think because of the drainage, the way the swale is, and I get all that. But I thought the total project was like $125,000. I never would have guessed.
And keep in mind,
$750
this
million.
isn't just Woodbury. This is sidewalks on Daniel Webster as well.
How far do those go?
It goes up, if you bear with me.
Okay, yeah, and it's not real important for me right now, but if it's right there,
I believe it's the sidewalk that goes from the library up to the MYA building.
okay.
Oh, the library.
All right. I thought it was speaking to the intersection
Just one
here, 'cause it
side.
says DW.
And the
Woodbury.
side hasn't been determined yet.
Okay.
So it goes Daniel Webster from the MYA down to Woodbury and upward.
Yeah, so at that point, that would be the connection.
So that's a significant,
It is. So we already have sidewalks. We already have sidewalks from Buckley's Watson Park
Right,
to the library. So this fills in the gap. There's no sidewalk on
connects them
Woodbury
all.
to the schools, and there's no sidewalk from the MYA building to the library. So it fills in two key gaps in the master plan that was created by the Town Center Committee in 2009. And that's where all these projects are derived from. That 2009 pedestrian, I forget the exact title, Town Center Pedestrian Access Committee. So we keep submitting the projects that they proposed. And that's part of the reason we've had such great success in getting the grants, is they're well-thought-out plans.
Right.
They've been adopted by the town council, and there's a lot of public support, that we've had good funding support, and they're really good projects, which is why we've done so well in the grant applications.
Yeah, we have. Bill, did you have something?
I had a couple, Mr. Chairman, just following up on the DW design portion going up to the MYA building. Did that-
Bill,
Go right ahead.
I want, but there needs to be a correction because it's not from the library to the MYA. The project is from the library on Babuzik Lake Road to Garrett Drive. So it's on Babuzik Lake Road. I can read you the slide. It says the first section consists of 1,500 feet along Babuzik Lake Road from the library to Garrett Drive. The second part of the grant will install 1,200 feet of sidewalk along Woodbury Street connection to the high school, to DW Highway and the Salhegan River Trail. That's the project that we're talking.
and the Salhegan River Trail?
It says it will tie.
Tie into it.
Tie into the Salhegan River Trail. So that's the project that was presented during the CIP process for this. That's
Okay.
$905,000 total, 80-20 split. The part in the budget is the design of $128,000. Sorry, Councilor Boyd, I just wanted to clarify
So
that.
that does not
Thank you, Paul.
include traveling northbound from
Nope.
Babuzik Lake on DW up to Wire Road?
Correct.
Okay, that eliminates one question. The second question, in, under capital reserves, 8910, the very last $5,000 for traffic preemption, can you talk to me a little bit about what that entails?
Sure. The traffic preemption in all of the traffic signal cabinets around town, both the ones that are owned by us and the ones owned by the state, have what's called traffic preemption systems. That's those little flashing beacons you see up on the mast arms. And what it allows the fire department have controllers in their vehicles that allows them, as they're approaching the intersection, to put a call in, just like the loops or cameras create a call when a car sits
Right.
there.
Okay,
It does a preemptive call for the emergency services. And like any electronics, they fail seemingly all too often.
and then circling back to 8505 under infrastructure and paving, page 71. Is this the line item that would include road scraping, road grading, call it what you want, for Farmer Road, for the dirt roads that are off of South Babuzik Lake Road that abut the lake?
If we were going to do a major upgrade to a gravel road, it would be the fund. We've typically not done that. Typically, we purchase materials under our materials line item. And the 8505 fund is just for paving and associated work with that, guardrail upgrades or whatever's associated directly with the paving project.
So I guess the question is, where in the line, first off, are we going to be continuing road scraping, road grading, call it what you want? And do you have the appropriate allocation in the budget here to,
We do. The main allocation for that is the labor.
under the labor?
We own the
Okay.
grader, and we have the labor force to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Barbara?
I'm sorry. I have to talk about picnic tables. Picnic tables. You have a line item for 5 picnic tables. I guess it must be like the trucks. They rotate. You replace them every so many years. $1,000 per picnic table? It is on page 68,
Under 8322.
under, yeah, 8322.
So right now, in years past, we have wood picnic tables. They don't last long.
Hmm.
We spend all winter repairing picnic tables.
I know they have some really nice ones. I went looking.
So that's the plan, to slowly, 5 tables at a time, try to wean our way out of the wood heavy
Mhm.
picnic tables.
How many are there? Grand total? Any idea?
I don't have
That's
a
a
grand
great
total, but we have been working on them for a month and a half straight right now.
Can we get maybe a better price than $1,000 per table?
We'll shop around, absolutely.
Everything we purchase, we go through a competitive bid process.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the other aspects that, for the switch, we unfortunately are the group that cleans up after everybody.
I know you do.
I think you guys heard of some instances last summer that the picnic tables got thrown down the hill at Watson Park. That has also happened in the past at Veterans Park. So with these new steel picnic tables, they're going to be much heavier and less prone to being moved. So that's part of our calculation as well.
Lifespan on these? Normal lifespan without being destroyed?
The new ones.
They don't say.
The new ones. I want a little bit less.
So where is that line item? I can't find it.
8322.
83? Yeah, 22 on page 68.
Maintenance.
Tom.
Down at the bottom.
The very last line, Tom.
So then if you do that, then you won't have to, technically, next year's budget, you won't need the $500 to repair for the wood and stuff like that for the ones that we currently have.
Once we replace them.
Right, right.
Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask briefly, you mentioned that line 8333, maintenance of vehicles, went up by some amount. I can't even add that up right now, almost 20,000. But the year before, the actual in 17-18 was almost the exact same number that you're asking for this year. And last year, we dropped it to 125,000. Was there something we thought we weren't going to need maintenance-wise that allowed us to drop that, and now we're back up again, or?
Yeah, we didn't drop it last year. That's just what we funded it at. So
Well, I mean, okay. We
That's
spent
what was-
144 the year before, but,
okay. The 144 the year before is the actual
right,
number. The 125 is just what is voted
is what
on.
we're budgeted right now. So
Yeah,
what,
and I expect we're going to overexpend that number.
by about that much?
Yeah.
Did we choose to reduce it, or did we just not know how much we were going to be spending on maintenance, or?
I think it was a combination of both. You know,
Okay.
as we put these budgets together, we're trying to be responsible to the taxpayer as well and keep these numbers as low as we can. And knowing that all the work we're doing here, you know, these few weeks, we're projecting forward 18 months.
Oh, yeah, I
in
know,
some
I
cases,
understand.
and-
I just was
and
curious.
we're trying to take a best guess. So what we did, we looked back at the actuals from 18 and 17, and they were both 143 and change. We thought that was an appropriate amount to budget for. And
It makes sense. You're just now having to say that that's an increase. and
Right.
It's what we've been spending.
correct.
I guess I thought I recalled you talking about last year that we were either with newer equipment or with the SUVs, the police forgetting or something like that, that we had lower maintenance
That wouldn't
requirements.
factor in here.
But that wouldn't
This is
factor-
just for the highway equipment.
Oh, just highway
Each
equipment maintenance.
department has their own 8333 account. So
Okay.
when they bring their equipment into us, we actually invoice, quote unquote, invoice
Charge
them
them. Yep,
through
okay.
finance.
Bill them every time. Okay. Thank you.
If you have more?
No.
Then I just, to get back to it, I think I have one for you. Oh, yeah, I actually, no, I'm all set. Very good.
I'm so impressed with you using the computer.
I'm telling you, I like the little
Mr. Flip
notes.
Phone.
I
Yeah.
like the little notes that I can see under each cell, and it just, I'm surprised it works for me and nobody else. I must be doing something wrong. It's excellent, too, especially 22 cents. That I'll never forget. So, all right. Thank you, Laura.
Just one thing,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I just, you know, I said it for the solid waste, I want to say it for you, Kyle, you and Lori and your staff, between the snow, great job clearing our roads and keeping them open and so forth, and taking care of things, and, you know, getting these grants when we need our bridges replaced and so forth. You guys do a great job, and your staff does a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're gonna reward you with a new building.
Yes. Soon, very
Pretty
soon.
Soon, very
I was
soon,
gonna
yep.
say, do we know when you're gonna move into your office?
Part of it right now.
They're starting
We have
now.
started.
Very cool.
Yes.
How much of the salt budget have we used so far this year? Just curious.
Materials, because we've had a lot of icing events,
Spent up.
they were about 40%.
Just curious.
Yeah,
Whatever's left.
I was taking our garage contractor around. They were interested in it. There's a big hole in the shed. Sadly.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
All right. Are we all set? Thanks, Lord. Appreciate it. Next.
She's still here.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Equipment maintenance. Welcome back, Lord.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I really don't have anything to comment on equipment maintenance. Overall, the budget is up $1,300 from last year. So let's just open it up to questions.
Barbara?
Sorry, I'm the new kid. This is the equipment to maintain what we just talked about, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sorry. I'll give an introduction to each. I apologize for that. So what our equipment maintenance division does, we have 5 employees, one working foreman, and 4 mechanics who maintain the entire town fleet. So police vehicles, fire vehicles, highway vehicles, solid waste, general government vehicles. They all come to the highway garage where our equipment maintenance staff does everything from oil changes, replacing tires, engine repairs, lighting repairs, electronics, the whole gamut of what you would bring your car into a shop for. They do. They also do repairs on our plows, our spreaders, all of our non-tired equipment as well, our compressors and everything. So
it'd be just about anything.
Yeah.
You know, like the front end loaders over at the
Absolutely.
transfer station, et cetera. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you. I apologize.
Don't apologize. I mean, it eliminates me asking dumb questions. So.
Yeah, because next year they become dumb questions. This year it's all good. All right,
We give 1 year.
1 year, that's it. You're supposed to be bringing water. I don't know if you knew that, but we've run out. So, does any,
You'll notice.
I would say come on down. We'd be happy to give you a tour.
Oh, that'd be great.
Especially with the new facility.
Right.
Yeah, we
if you
can't
haven't
wait.
been there, it does look pretty sharp. It's amazing what's been done. And,
We can't talk about it
I
without
see it
smiling.
most
I know.
weeks. I didn't go today because I had sick grandsons that I hung out with in the morning, but it's a pretty exciting time. I figure nobody's going to retire for a while now from Public Works. Going to hang out. So, all right, if there's nothing, I think we're all good. All right, next, 10 is wastewater treatment fund.
So next up is our wastewater treatment facility. Joining me for this presentation is Sarita Croce. She's our wastewater treatment assistant director of Public Works. In this budget, some of the highlights are we're proposing an increase in lines 8316 and 8321, which are bulking agent and chemicals. 8311 and 8316, I'm sorry, of 10,000 and 12,000. Both of those are directly related to offsetting revenues, in that the reason we need more chemicals and bulking agent, which is used to make compost, is we have increased flows. We're taking more sludge in from other communities, and we're taking a lot of septic in from other communities that we hadn't recently, primarily because the Milford wastewater treatment facility is no longer taking septic haulers into their facilities, so they're all coming to us. Our maintenance machinery and equipment is up 47,000. Our other outside services is up 46,000, primarily due to the administrative cost rebate that the wastewater fund gives to the general government, to the general fund. Paul can speak much better to that than I can. And the final one that I'll point out specifically is in our 8910 account, capital reserve fund purchases. That's up $71,000, and that's because we have a need to replace our screener, our compost screener. It's a critical piece of equipment in making compost that we sell, and the current one is a 2001, so it's definitely due for replacement. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions you might have.
Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kyle or Sarita, are we allocating any funds for analysis of both the wastewater and the sludge for PFAS, PFOS, those Gen X, those kinds of things?
Yes, we are. So if you look at 359, for water analysis. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
If you take a look at 8359, I have $30,000 allocated over there for water analysis. That's specifically for PFAS compounds.
Okay. Is there any chance in the future that we could line item that so that it says PFAS, Gen X, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Perfect. Barbara?
On that same topic, Sarita,
Yes.
how many tests does that pay for?
So typically, one water analysis will cost $250.
Okay.
And a soils analysis will cost a little bit more. The thing to be aware of is the fact that EPA is coming out with some new analytical methods, and I'm not quite sure how much they will cost.
Yeah, because, we have a change coming in the we're almost due for the annual test anyways, I believe, coming up in the spring, when it seems that's when you've done them in the past.
Yes.
And with the changes taking place with the wastewater at St. Gobain, it might be worth retesting on our end what exactly is coming out of there, so that at least we know
So
from a
we
town
have
perspective.
We have a sampling plan that we're going, did I not do? Oh, I'm sorry. I was holding it down. I wasn't sure. We have a sampling plan that we're going to follow as St. Gobain's facility or treatment system comes on site. So we want to specifically know and confirm that their results, when we collect samples, are indicative of what we get for results. We probably should wait a little while before we test the wastewater, especially influent of the wastewater, just because it's probably going to take a little time for there actually to be a substantial decrease, because we probably have on the main interceptor, some materials have accumulated in the piping itself.
Right.
But we do have that on horizon.
Yeah, I don't see that there's a way to purge the pipes from here to there once they go online, so
It'll take time, but I think what you'll see over time is the concentration will drop.
Agreed.
Sarita, I see on line 8332, maintenance vehicles, and it's got a hole punched through it. It says truck, something, and sewer cleaner. Is this the truck that we use to go into the manholes and suck out all the sand and everything so we keep things flowing? Is that vehicle?
So, yeah, that's the VACCON.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know that there was an issue regarding that it being not the past vehicles we've had were not, I don't want to say ergonomically correct. The operators had a hard time with it. And is this vehicle a better vehicle for the operators to use, and so forth?
This isn't a new vehicle, is it?
It isn't a new vehicle.
Maintenance, that's a maintenance plan.
I know what you're referencing.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's not the vehicle that was the issue. It was the way it had to go into the sludge tanks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And if you recall from the presentation Sarita and I gave on the wastewater upgrade,
Yeah.
lowering the tanks, those 3
Okay.
feet, that will correct that ergonomic issue. So it wasn't an issue with the truck. It was the issue of weight. We had to put on a longer hose
Okay.
to get to the tanks.
All right,
And
I
that's
got
what
you.
caused the
All right,
the
so it
back
wasn't the
surge.
vehicle then, okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
That line's for trucks, loaders, sewer cleaner, and other miscellaneous vehicles that they have.
Say that again?
The line item, because it's punched,
Yeah.
it says trucks, loaders, sewer cleaner, and
Oh.
other miscellaneous vehicles.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
maintenance, right. the punch hole. I didn't have that. Nancy? I'm sorry, Bill, yeah.
I want to circle back, if I could, to 8359 for the water analysis piece. Sarita, do you have any inkling what the EPA may be coming down with for rules and how owners would be and what kind of a fiscal, I mean, I know you're making a judgment of $30,000 based on your own professional experience, and I get that. And I guess my concern is, are we expecting EPA to come down with something more draconian that would cause you respectfully to maybe come back to the council looking for additional funds to remain compliant?
So at this point, EPA is not in the process of developing, or I should say this, at this point, EPA is in the process of looking at the PFAS compounds and looking at the possibility of developing some additional standards. I don't see anything coming down the line in the next year. What I do see coming down the line is different methods to analyze everything. So right now, the method that's used to complete the analysis for soils and for wastewater is not approved by EPA. And over the next year, they're going to develop a method that will be approved by EPA and by the drinking water regulations. So we'll be able to use this new method to do the analysis. I think the big thing is I don't know how much that will cost when it comes through.
I mean, they could take our method, throw it out the window, and it's costing us at a delta of X, and say, you're going to use this method, and it's going to be at a delta Y, and it could increase.
It also could be cheaper.
Could be cheaper.
So
That's
think on the
correct.
positive side, yeah.
I don't trust the EPA, so that's where I'm functioning from.
So the method that they're developing right now, it's going to be what they call a direct inject method. So right now, with the analysis, they spend a lot of time putting the sample in different containers and keep drawing the sample out before they inject it in the machine that actually does the analysis. The method that they're going to for wastewater and for the soils and the solids is going to be a method where they do everything in a single container and then they inject it directly into the machine. So you should have less loss of material, which to me means you'll have a better analysis. You'll have less potential for interference by the actual the sample collectors as well as the laboratory technicians. So I actually think it'll be a good method.
Okay. And then the last follow-up along those lines, are we doing any type of testing for analytes in our compost post? Are we doing any, with our compost, are we testing that specifically for any PFAS that may remain in the compost right now?
So we do it at least once a year.
Once a year, okay.
We have done it multiple times. And the results, of course, I don't remember what they are
That's
on
fine.
top of my head, but it ranges between, I think, 5 ppb all the way up to a high of, I think I remember 19 ppb was the highest. So I want to say one thing about this, is the method used to do the analysis, and I may be getting into way too much detail, so I apologize in advance, but the method used to do the analysis is called an isotope dilution, which Clark mentioned on during the meeting.
Clark Frazee.
Yeah, so what isotope dilution is you put something called a surrogate in the sample, and then you analyze the surrogate afterwards. If you put 10 parts of that surrogate and you only recover 5 parts, then you increase your result, you double it, because you're saying that the analytical method wasn't good enough to get all of the surrogate in. So I think when we go to the new method, we won't have that type of analysis. We'll have something that'll be, your result will be your result, because EPA will say if you get the surrogate recovery between, usually it's 65 or 75% up to 130%, the result is the result. And they have a minimum standard that the sample has to meet. And if it doesn't meet that, it's thrown out. The other thing that EPA will also do, likely, is they will say that if the blank is contaminated with some of the analytes of concern, then you end up throwing out those samples also. And right now, we keep those all.
And I think it's just important to add that, so Sarita mentioned 5 to 19 has been our test result. The standard is 500.
That
parts per
was my
billion.
next question.
Yes.
And I think that's important to amplify to the listening audience. So, okay. Thank you.
Barbara?
Sarita, do you think that EPA will actually come out with a MCL for the compost? Because technically 500 is soil.
So they won't come out with an MCL for compost. What they will come out with will be a concentration, like PPB or PPT, which will be kilograms per grams per kilogram or milligrams per kilogram. What the big concern is when it comes to PFAS compounds and compost is that when it rains, how much of that material, these PFAS materials, will leach into groundwater. That's the big concern. So we don't really have a lot of leachability studies. And actually, New Hampshire DS commented on that in their report, saying that we don't have the leachability studies to really make that determination at this point. So they're looking to research to help us get to that point. I don't think that's in the near future.
Why do we have $58,000 for the city of Nashua?
So the city of Nashua, we have Pennachuck Square, and we actually
What number?
send our water to the city, wastewater to the city of Nashua to be treated there. So the $58,000 is to cover treatment. Now, what has happened in the last couple of years in the city of Nashua is they've increased their rates. I know it's a surprise. So right now, the rate is $3.16 per 1,000 gallons. In 2016-17, it was $2.74 per 1,000 gallons. And then in 2014-15, it was $2.59 per 1,000 gallons.
And again, this is originally, what did you say this was for? Pennachuck?
So we have a pump station located in Pennachuck Square, down by 101A.
Yeah.
And it serves, so all of the sewers that connect to that pump station, which covers all of the commercial and industrial businesses down in that intersection in that area. And it spreads west into like the Joey Road neighborhoods, Natticook Road.
Gotcha.
So all of the sewer we have in that part of town goes to that pump station, which gets sent to Nashua. Because we don't have a pipe yet that goes up Continental Boulevard. It's in our sewer master plan to do so in the future, but to date, it goes to Nashua. Right. Similar to, we have the Greenfield Farm projects in Bedford.
Yeah.
They send their sewer to us.
Okay.
So we have an intermunicipal agreement with Nashua to send our wastewater there.
Right. Thanks.
Nothing to do with the budget, but I do want to take an opportunity to thank you for being a resource for us on this whole PFAS thing. It really, it really does provide a perspective and knowledge that we need. And as an individual, I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
You
Here,
do
here.
make it
Absolutely.
understandable, which is amazing to me.
Exactly.
We all set? Thanks, Sarita.
Thank you.
Next one, coming close, Building and Grounds, number 17.
Okay, so next up is our Buildings and Grounds Division. What our Buildings and Grounds Division does is we maintain the town hall facilities, Abbey Griffin Park, the police station, and the Adult Community Center, and all of the maintenance associated with all of those facilities. The big changes from previous years, last year, the council and the voters approved converting a part-time custodian into a full-time custodian. So now that's fully embedded into the budget. The only other big change is we've got a decrease in $197,000 in our 8502 line buildings, and that's due to the one-time HVAC project that was approved last year. So that's been removed from the budget. And I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Going once?
I actually have a question for Eileen. Regarding the wages for our custodians, because they do dynamite job here, and I'm wondering, are they union or non-union employees?
They're non-union employees.
Non-union. So at some point during our budget conversation, there may be a point where we're going through the union contracts, that there may be for the non-union people. Is that
Yes, I have a
something that
proposal for you.
we will be seeing one?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Barbara?
Question about Where is the ambulance garage?
So
I
It's
thought the
kind of an out-
ambulances were down at the
Right.
fire station,
So
so why is
it-
there a separate charge for
it's an
that?
outdated name. I'm sure Paul could speak to the history way better than I could. But the ambulance garage is the building located just outside of Town Hall, right over here.
Oh, that
Yeah, where
shed or
it-
something?
it-
or that?
It's where our custodians work out of, where we park the
Used to be-
buildings and grounds 1 ton.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Used to
their
be the
office
call
building.
it
For
used-
some reason, it's always been called the ambulance garage, and
Used to be the call ambulance division, used to be
Okay.
out of it.
Okay,
So-
because you can see why I was confused, because I know they live down there.
absolutely.
Where's the annex? Is this the annex? No, this was the original. What's the annex? This is the annex. Thank you.
It's funny, I didn't know that.
Got to keep my building straight.
I thought this was the west wing.
I know, that's what I thought.
This is the west wing.
This is the west wing. Down below is
I
the west
don't use that
wing.
word annex, so I wasn't sure. I go by east wing and west wing.
Okay. All right. Is there anything, Bill, do you have anything? No?
No, just that every summer, the town hall is just meticulous. It's green, the flowers, the mulch. I know, is it okay to mention? No, I can mention his name? Phil Machino just does dynamite work, keeping the center of town, you know, the focal point of who the town of Merrimack is. So I do want to publicly thank him for everything that he does to keep town hall looking amazing every year, day in, day out.
Absolutely. I've tried to get him to come to my house. He won't do it. What's really amazing is that he's a machine, and he's at the gym, I think, every day,
5:30
Monday through
every
Friday
day.
for sure.
I think he
And,
opens it up for
he's-
them.
I think he does. He's got
He and
the
his
physique of a
son's-
25-year-old kid.
His son is
Yeah,
jacked. He's a big kid. He's also a physical therapist, so it kind of makes sense.
so perfect. So, very good. I think we're all set there. We'll move on finally to Public Works Admin, which is number 7.
Last but not least, we have the Public Works Administration Division. The Administration Division oversees all of the other divisions. In addition, we do all of the engineering duties that are accomplished by the town. We work with the other departments, primarily community development, with planning board reviews and other project reviews that come through. We do all of the engineering work associated with projects, whether we design them in-house or work through a consultant. And we also oversee construction of subdivision projects and other site projects in town. Again, there's not a lot in this budget, no changes from last year, and the total budget is up $1,700. So I'll open to any questions you might have.
Billy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kyle, what's the summer engineers going to be doing for DPW, and how's the farmer's market assistant working out?
I'll speak to the second one first. The farmer's market assistant, I presume, is working out very well. I actually have very little to do with it other than we process their payroll. So I can't speak too much about it. But,
Okay, fair enough.
No issues have been brought to my attention.
Okay.
With respect to the interns, we're proposing, just like we did. Oh, I'm sorry.
I believe they did not have an intern this year in the farmer's market.
They did not. So we budgeted, when did we
640.
first budget that line?
I think last year.
About 2 years ago.
Was it 2?
2 years ago.
And
They
have
had one the first year. The person that was in the position was in college. I don't believe they came back this year. I believe they took another job. They never filled that position. I do not believe we have a person in there this summer. Last summer.
There was at least 2 years that it was filled. And
Yeah, it was
I
2
think you're
years that
right.
was
I think
filled.
it
This
wasn't
year, there
filled
was
last year.
nobody. Yeah, and then they're looking to fill that position again for next summer.
They are looking to fill
They
the
are
position?
looking to fill it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
With respect to the interns, just as we did last year and was approved last year, we have budgeted for 3 interns in the admin budget and 2 interns in the wastewater budget. So obviously the 2 in the wastewater budget focus a lot on Sarita's needs testing, and they did some really great analysis last year, which they turned into a presentation that they gave both for us and for their school, which was really pretty cool. The primary so last year, we put a big effort in since we had 5, and Dawn did a really great job of scheduling them and rotating them through. So all 5 worked in both areas, wastewater and admin, doing the variety of stuff we do. Having the 5 allowed us to do a PCI, which is a pavement condition index update on our entire road network in town. So we have an up-to-date database on that. This year, the primary focus of the hours of the 3, again, we're going to rotate everyone through, but the hours of the 3 is primarily going to be focused on stormwater this year. We're under the new MS4 program. Our NOI, well, we're overdue for the approval from EPA. I suspect the current shutdown will delay things, but we still have to meet the requirements, and Dawn has a whole lineup of tasks that they need to do to help us in that initiative.
Perfect. The timing couldn't be more ideal, and that's going to be useful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely useful. It's
Yeah.
good. Thanks, Scott.
Great bang for the buck, too.
Absolutely.
They were scrutinizing my street last year. What's that?
Just one other question.
Tom?
Kyle, you mentioned the PCI, which you probably didn't want to do. As I drive around town, it seems like the roads are in fairly poor condition in a lot of areas, especially another section of Amherst and stuff like that. What's the overall consensus of the PCI update? Are we on track, or are we falling behind? Are we getting ahead of the roads? Or
We're definitely falling behind. We're not funding our needs for the road maintenance. We've got 180 miles of road in town, and just to do simple math, if you did an 1.25 inch overlay on all 180 miles of our road at our current funding, it's a 35-year paving cycle, which is obviously not enough. Pavements typically last 10 to 15 years. So we're quite a bit behind. What we've tried to focus on, and I think we're doing a good job, is to every year we take the 800,000 or whatever we're given. We try and focus half of that on the main roads, because that's the most important roads. That's the roads everybody drives, and we try and take about half to put in the subdivision roads. And if you go to a pavement management seminar or something, they'll always tell you the best way to run your program is to keep your good roads good. And the philosophy is you once you've repaired a road, it's cheaper to do little maintenance like crack sealing, small shim overlays like the state did on the south end of Daniel Webster a couple of years ago. Those are cheaper fixes, and what they do is they just extend the life of the pavements out, versus putting money into your worst roads. And that philosophy says punt your worst roads until you have money for reconstruction. Now, that works great in a state setting where they have a lot more money, but also a lot straighter roads and a different funding source. So the way we've structured the program to try and be cognizant of everybody's needs and the fact that everybody pays taxes and a fair amount. So with the half that we put into the main roads, the idea is we're trying to get them good, and then we want to keep them good. And then on the subdivision side, the money we put into the subdivision roads, we kind of do a worst first take. Not necessarily the best way to spend our money, but it's hard to look a resident in the eye and say, we're going to pave your neighbor's road that's an 80 and yours that's a 30, we're just never going to do. Because to reconstruct a subdivision road, everything is ridiculously expensive. So that's kind of our philosophy on the program.
For a while, Eileen, you were trying to build up our infrastructure account. We seem to have stabilized at 800,000, $1 million a year. Doesn't sound like that's only about a third of what we need.
Yes, I think, I forget what it was. It took us a while to get up to $800,000.
Yeah, it did.
Because, and when you come around to doing budgets and that kind of thing, you're trying to accomplish a certain goal, meet a certain tax rate level, and so you can always propose more, but what I try and do is I try and give you a base, and if you want to add more, you can add more. So it is a good idea to add more, but it costs more.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand.
So
I understand.
it-
I
you
don't know
know-
where we would get another million or two
Mhm.
to bring it up to what you're thinking is the right level, but we're just gonna fall backwards if we don't.
But as a philosophy, if you would like us to propose budgets that steadily start increasing that, which is a good idea after hearing Kyle, then we'd be happy to do that. And you can just, if you think it's too much, or, tax rate wise or anything, you can cut it back. But we'll try and build that into our budgets from now on to start increasing the amount.
Yeah, I think we have to personally. I mean, I hate to spend the money, but I hate to see the roads get worse, and there are certainly some that are, as Pearson Road has been on the radar for quite a while. I know Amherst Street has had pieces of it fixed, but I drive it daily, and
Yeah,
I'm
that middle
constantly
section
dodging
is-
left and right
Yep.
and avoiding traffic coming the other way at the same time
Absolutely.
because it's torn up.
And we are trying
I was just gonna say
other
Bedford
things.
Road.
Bedford.
Bedford
Same-
Road, I was
same
just gonna
thing,
say that.
yeah.
We are trying things. So Amherst Road is a great example of one thing that you'll see this summer. In last year's budget, you approved the milling machine attachment for the sidewalk machine. What that's going to allow us to do. So Amherst Road, the big issue with that is there's isolated areas where it's really bad, but the majority of it's pretty good. So
Yeah.
if you look at its PCI score, it's actually pretty good.
Oh, okay.
But those bad parts are really bad. So we're going to use that milling machine attachment to grind out those really bad areas, do a small patch with our own folks, and prolong the life of the pavement. And what that does is it prevents us from doing a full overlay of the road, that a lot of the road doesn't need it. So we're trying to make headway in other areas as well.
Okay. As long as it's not like a coal patch. You're talking about a hot
No,
patch.
no, this would be, it's,
The coal patch just washes out.
exactly. So no, what this machine does, it's a small version of, you've seen the big machines that grind.
Grind the whole thing,
A
yeah.
level, and you see the motorcycles use caution signs, you got the wiggly road. So it does that. So it'll grind, we'll probably go an inch and a half deep, grind out the bad pavement to get down to hopefully something better, and then just patch that area back in by hand to fix some of those trouble spots on Bedford Road and Amherst Road.
Okay. I've seen them do that up in Manchester in some areas, so I'm
Yeah,
presuming.
Manchester has the luxury, they have their own paving equipment, so they can actually put a paver out. I won't propose that we do that.
No. Thank you.
Anything further? Oh, see none. Thanks, Kyle.
Very good,
Appreciate
thank you.
everything.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, good job, Kyle, thank you.
Barbara?
I have a general question for Eileen and Paul. It seems like every department has charges for cell phones. How is that working from a universal standpoint? Do we have one major contract for the town, and then there are chargebacks for each individual department who wants to have their staff have cell phones? Or is it something else?
Certain levels of staff that need cell phones in their daily conducting of business for the town, they have their own cell phones, and we reimburse them a certain amount of money. So if you have a data plan, it's $85 a month. Not everybody is getting their cell phone paid for, but and if you just have a regular talk line, it's lesser than that. What is it? 40. So that's the way that we work it, rather than getting cell phones for people.
Nothing further?
Motion to adjourn?
Like Councilor Thornton, seconded by Bill, because Barbara had it the last time. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. 700. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Carl.